Hi, I'm Dr. G, a clinical psychologist with specialty in couples and sex therapy. And my friends at Celebrating Act 2 have asked me to talk about some relationship issues, problems, concerns for people over 50. And the next topic that I'll be talking about is very, very interesting. This is one of the most interesting things I've heard. So here it goes. I am a grandparent and actively dating. I'm only attracted to the younger generation. I don't want to look like a cougar or dirty old man. That's a that's just classic. I love this question because I see the dilemma there, and honestly, the answer is there's no way of getting around that. Really, just simple and quick answer is well, you got to get used to it. If this is what you prefer, you can't change the whole society. Taboos are established over hundreds of years. It's not something that is just a new fad that we can get rid of and change people's minds. It's so deeply ingrained in the psyche of the society, in the collective consciousness, if you will. It's in the novels we read. It's in history. It's in everywhere. It's in our literature. It's part and parcel of the fabric of what makes society work, in terms of hierarchies, age differences, generational differences, cultural differences, do's and don'ts, norms that have been established for many, many years for good reasons to actually offer some kind of a sensibility to the way the society works. So it's not just like a choice. It's not something that people have just can turn off and on. So in my opinion, if you are a grandparent and actively dating and the partner seems to be much younger than you, first of all, just kind of accept that it is what it is, right? And people are going to make their own judgments and assumptions. And you can't live your life by gratifying, satisfying everybody else around you and worrying about what they think and living your life according to their standards. So here, however, there are some possible ways you can circumvent some, let's say, heat around that, some intense, worries or frustration and discomfort that may arise from this. So some suggestions that I would have is that when we are talking about younger, how many years younger? You could literally get rid of this problem by being more modest in what you think of younger. Maybe even narrowing down your search criteria instead of being somebody who is, let's say, 35 years younger than you. They're more like 20 years younger than you. So by narrowing this down, you still get what you want. However, you actually are capable of kind of, breaking down the stigma by simply closing in or narrowing that generational gap or the age difference to a point that it is not much, that obvious or visible or off-putting or upsetting to others. That's one strategy generally that may be helpful. The other one is that using humor, I would say, a lot of times works. People who are themselves stigmatized by these taboos, they are kind of lost. If they didn't have the stigma, if they weren't lost and they weren't confused, they wouldn't have the stigma, right? They would be comfortable around you. If you're dating somebody younger, you're in a kind of a social group, and they would be comfortable. They wouldn't look at you weird or think of you as a cougar or dirty old man. They would just be relating to you like anybody else. So if they do have the stigma, that means there is something is going on in them that is, in their own psyche that is troubling them. A lot of times what we can do is using humor about the most obvious dilemma and conflict that people generally experience, because it's a common experience, to kind of diffuse the situation and help the person who has the stigma actually open up about it. So you could literally come up with whatever sentences or phrases or thoughts or kind of stating the obvious in a social gathering. If something bothers you, if you look at somebody and they're looking at you sideways, and you can turn that into humorous interaction. If I was in that situation, I would say, something along the lines of something like, I may say something like, I know old age sucks, something like that. I don't know what you can come up with that's humorous to you, but that establishes, you address the obvious, almost like that elephant in the room, and you engage in that conversation with people who may have a difficulty about it. And also, by doing that, not only you feel better, but also you give them the opportunity to reason about it and analyze it together with you and kind of address their own blind spots, right? For how come that they have a problem with age difference? What are their preferences, biases, kind of norms and core beliefs that creates that frustration and anxiety and displeasure for them. Because a lot of times those are just, man-made and made up. They're just fabricated belief systems that are more troubling than useful. So by having that type of a conversation, you live your life, you kind of counteract the stigma, you engage with your environment, and you kind of teach others that it's not the end of the world. If you're facing a stigma and there's something troubling you and taboo, you still can have a good discussion about it. Lastly, what I would say is perhaps, if you don't prefer any other recommendation that I made, if that doesn't work for you and you just want to, let's say there's a gathering, there is a wedding, there is a occasion that you still want to go with your partner and not be looked at negatively, what I would suggest is to reduce the public affection to bare minimum, as to not really stand out. That's just another strategy that can be used situationally, just so you interact with others, you're present, your partner is there too, but you don't necessarily stir the pot there. That's a little bit more passive approach. I don't have a preference for it. It's up to the person to choose what they like. So I hope that it was helpful for you. If you have any thoughts, questions, feel free to call me. Thank you.